for the most part, that's kind of across the body, right? In like entire body, the issues are stemming from a mitochondrial dysfunction, inflammation, leading to cellular senescence.
The exposure to these environmental stressors, right? So both like sun damage, pollution, and all the different types of stressors that our skin is exposed leads the skin to accumulate more of those zombie cells. And that's why it's one of the, tissues that can show the signs of aging first.
Welcome, everybody. It's Buck Joffrey here with Longevity Roadmap. And today we're going to have an interesting show about skin. I don't know about you, but I tend to think of beauty and health kind of separately. Like, I don't think of them as one and the same, and maybe that's a mistake. It's especially odd that I have that perspective because I didn't put those two things together after a career that was partially as a cosmetic surgeon where I did almost 1,000 facelifts, a lot of aging face. The thing is that like during that time, when I think back, people age so differently. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's pretty remarkable how two different 60-year-old people can look. There's certainly a lot that goes into that. There's genetics, there's race and ethnicity. Lifestyle plays a big role. Smoker's skin is typically really unhealthy, for example. If you're out in the sun a lot, that kind of thing. There is an enormous impact, though, of sort of your overall health on your skin. And unhealthy living does tend to result in a poorer cosmetic appearance as well. And there's studies about that, where basically there's some correlation between how old somebody looks and what their epigenetic age is. But let's take a step back for a minute and consider the fact that the skin is actually the largest organ in the body. And it's something we don't think about, but that is the reality. The skin is an organ. It's the largest organ in the body. And that perspective can really make you think differently about cosmetics, at least as it relates to the skin, right? I mean, obviously not for a rhinoplasty or something like that, but for the skin. So in that regard, should we stop thinking about skin as something purely for vanity? I mean, guys, I know a lot of guys don't care at all about this kind of stuff. I started thinking about it, honestly, because, who wants to, if you're in this space, a lot of times you want to feel good, but you also want to look good as well. I don't know. How do I look? Anyway, should we start thinking about skincare as something that could help with overall longevity? After all, again, no one would argue that improving the health of any other organ system in the body would benefit health span and lifespan, right? And again, skin's the largest organ system, right? So shouldn't improving the health of that improve the health of your overall self? That's what today's interview got me thinking about. It is fascinating stuff. It's with the founder of a company called OS-01 that I actually knew about before and was using their products myself before I had the opportunity to do this interview with the founder. Now, whether you care, again, about whether or not, how your skin looks, you're going to find this interview really fascinating. Forward it to people who might get a kick out of it as well, because it may very well change your mindset about, healthy skin. Anyway, we will have that interview right after these messages. Welcome back to Longevity Roadmap. Today, my guest is Dr. Carolina Reis Olivera. She is a pioneering scientist and entrepreneur targeting cellular aging. She's got a degree in biochemistry, stem cell biology, tissue engineering, along with a PhD in immunology. She has dedicated her career to understanding the biological mechanisms of aging. And in 2016, she co-founded a company called OneSkin, a company that develops innovative solutions to combat age-related skin conditions. And under her leadership as CEO, OneSkin has made significant strides in xenotherapeutics, culminating in the discovery of OS-01, the first peptide scientifically proven to reduce cellular senescence in human skin. Welcome, Carolina.
Thank you, Buck. Thanks for having me.
Did I pronounce the OS-01? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, OS-01.
Okay, got it. Well, let's start with this. Obviously you've got a significant background in science. How did you get interested in the field of aging in particular?
So growing up, I always wanted to be a scientist. And in the beginning, I thought that I would be dedicating my research to find a cure for a certain disease, and that's how I would make a contribution. And so initially on my PhD, I actually studied stem cell biology and tissue engineering. And out of my PhD, I joined with 3 other colleagues, and using our expertise of growing skins in the lab, we actually started by testing anti-aging products that were already in the market to measure if they could actually reverse the age of the skin. Interesting enough, we found that most products that were in the market, they were not able to reverse skin age. They could provide some benefits, mostly superficial, but when we looked at the cellular level and we were really measuring the skin's biological age, there was no change. And because we saw how much aging has evolved in the past, 10, 15 years, we knew that there was a better way to target aging. So that's when we decided to shift our approach from testing products to actually search for new molecules that could address aging at the cellular level. And that's when I got really fascinated about this field of aging and longevity, because now we as a scientist understand much better what's driving aging, so we can come up with solutions or interventions that can actually modulate or reverse aging. And that's how we found, OS-01 peptide. That's kind of this discovery.
Why did you decide to focus on the skin? Was it just immediate commercial application? What was the driving force for focusing on the skin?
What we saw back in 2016 is that a lot of other companies were starting out to use this new approach of addressing aging at the cellular level to prevent other age-related diseases, but no one was translating this to the skin. And we had like an expertise on reproducing skin in the lab and reproducing skin aging. So we could use these models to actually test new interventions and understand better how this product works. So skin is one of the best tissues to start with. Second, there was already a big market, consumers eager for products that are actually effective. And third, what we thought as a scientist, if we can bring this to consumers through the skin first and validate that this new approach works, then eventually we can expand it to other tissues and go internally. But skin is kind of a faster approach to actually bring this new discovery to consumers. And that was our goal with focusing on the skin.
So let's talk a little bit about the skin. You talked about sort of the non-effectiveness of some of the other products. When we talk about the skin aging, what is it specifically about the aged skin, I guess, at the, without going into too much detail, but maybe a little bit of the physiology and the molecular biology behind that makes it look old as opposed to just dry skin?
So a lot of it comes from the collagen degradation or the reduction in the ability of producing collagen, hyaluronic acid. These are molecules that are, giving the firmness and the structure of the skin. And why we stop producing collagen, one of the main reasons is that we accumulate, our cells get old, the wear and tear of divisions. And so at some point they stop functioning well. And the natural cycle would be that these cells would die. But what happens with the aging process is that some of the cells are able to escape this apoptosis, this death process, and just stick around. And the problem is that they are not only not functional, but they are also secreting inflammatory signals that are inducing the healthy cells around it to age faster. So we call these cells like zombie cells or senescent cells. And they are the one spreading this inflammation, which leads to further collagen degradation and further prevention of collagen production. So our hypothesis with the skin aging is that if we can decrease the load of these old cells, we can make room for the healthy ones to replicate, and they are able to produce collagen again. So we are basically targeting the main driver of aging and kind of restarting your skin, the ability of produce collagen and work well and as a younger skin.
What you're talking about with the skin, for the most part, that's kind of across the body, right? In like entire body, the issues are stemming from a mitochondrial dysfunction, inflammation, leading to cellular senescence. So is this cycle that you're just sort of seeing at the skin level and just kind of focusing on it. So in that regard, I mean, it's longevity science is focused on the skin, right? I mean, there's nothing necessarily specific about what you just said that would just relate to skin.
You are 100% correct. I think the one of the main drivers, or like the source of senescent cells in the skin, is the exposure to these environmental stressors, right? So both like sun damage, pollution, and all the different types of stressors that our skin is exposed leads the skin to accumulate more of those zombie cells. And that's why it's one of the, tissues that can show the signs of aging first. It's also connected with our internal health. So in the end, your skin is a, reflection of your internal body, and vice versa.
So you talked about the zombie cells and the senescent cells triggering ultimately the creation of more zombie cells and breaking down collagen, that cycle. What benefit do some of the traditional medications that we use, for example, the one that comes to mind for me is retinoic acid, right? So retinoic acid is kind of known as, Retin-A, but it's known to turn over cells. So does it not do a good job at removing senescent cells? Are there limitations there? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we actually use retinoic acid as our positive control when we were screening new molecules to find one that could decrease senescent cells. And what we found with retinoic acid, that it can actually increase senescent cells in the short term, because it's usually causing a little bit of inflammation. So until you induce that cell renew, you are causing some kind of a stress in the skin, and eventually your skin, you can recover if your skin is able to tolerate retinol, and you can decrease the load of senescent cells, but temporarily we do see some increase in senescent cells. So the way that retinoic acid works is, as you said, inducing cell renewal. So the upper layers of your skin will peel off, and you are going to produce a fresher new layer of skin. And so you're basically removing the good and the bad cells, while it's not necessarily, targeting reducing the amount of senescent cells, the ones that are causing aging underneath. And depending on how your skin can tolerate, it can actually increase temporarily the accumulation of senescent cells. It's a different approach from what our peptide works. Like this, again, works at the cell renew effect, while our peptide works by targeting more specifically the senescent cells without disturbing the healthy cells.
Okay, so let's talk specifically about OS-01. This is a peptide. Maybe start by explaining how you discovered it. It sounds like it is some targeting senescent cells in particular, but I know there's a story behind how you actually discovered it as well.
Yeah, so once we saw that targeting senescent cells would be an interesting approach to address skin aging, we spent 4 years just testing new peptides. We tested over 900 peptides, and eventually we found OS-01 that had the greatest ability of reducing the cellular senescence load in the skin. And so it reduced about 40% the loads, up to 40% the load of senescent cells. And as I said, in turn induces collagen production, reduces inflammation, activates DNA repair pathways. And when we measure the skin's biological age, we can see a reduction in 2.5 years in the skin's age that we treated in the lab. So this is from a lab experiment, but it shows that this peptide, by primarily targeting senescent cells, can make the skin biologically younger.
In that situation, would there be a role for some of the other things still? Like, for example, would you still use Retin-A, or would this pretty much be the only thing that you would need in order to make sure you had appropriate turnover?
Yeah, so Retin-A can definitely accelerate the turnover. Our peptide doesn't necessarily does that. So if you want to improve the texture, kind of the complexion of your skin, and if you're able to tolerate Retin-A at a healthy level without causing irritation in your skin or redness, we are fine with this approach. We actually our peptide helps counteract some of the dryness, the irritation, the redness that the retin-A can cause. So a lot of our customers, they combine both. For those who have like more sensitive skin that, or like are pregnant, or whoever cannot tolerate or should avoid retin A, our peptide is a great alternative because it's gentle, it's completely non-toxic, and promotes, this collagen production at similar levels that retin A does.
I assume you've had some clinical trials here as well, because I think you just mentioned some in-lab in lab skin tests, and you had 2.5 years of reduction in skin aging. Can you talk about the clinical trial side?
Yeah, we ran clinical studies for every product that we bring to the market. So the face moisturizer, that is the main product. The first study that we did was a split face in which like one of the side of the face had the full formula without the peptide and the other one with the peptide, just to measure the incremental effect of the peptide. And we did see an improvement more significant in fine lines, wrinkles, and in the barrier of the skin, which really relates to the main function of the skin of, having a strong barrier to protect our internal body. We saw that only the side that had the peptide. We also run like longer clinical studies. Most of the other brands, if they run studies, they'll run like 3 months. We run like 6 months and 12 months. And we do collect biopsies to measure again at the cellular level that age reversal, and also to see long term how the peptide is affecting the products affecting your skin. And this study is still ongoing, but we got some preliminary data showing that after 12 months, we saw a reduction in 3.3 years in the age of the skin by using, the OS-01 face product.
So is that reduction in age, was that measured by like epigenetic age?
Yes, correct.
Okay, got it. And was it one of the known studies like Grim Age or one of the other?
Yeah, this was with the PhenoAge that was developed by Morgan Levine. We also test with our own molecular clock that's specific for skin. So we usually run with all of the clocks available. This one, the 3.3 years, was with the PhenoAge.
So 3.3 years on average in 6 months.
12 months.
I'm sorry, 12.
Yeah.
Okay, 12 months.
Yeah. And this was
using it twice a day, or what?
Yeah,
What's the
twice a day. And I should say that this was close to significance, was 0.57. So we repeated the study with more participants, and we are just analyzing the data. So we should have more updates on that soon. But we already see one interesting data that we saw from this last study is that we can analyze the RNA sequencing, basically see which genes are activated, in the skins. And we did see the genes related to senescence going down in these biopsies that we collected from participants, validating that our approach in vitro is now translating into the skins in humans.
If you're getting actually changes at the cellular level and at the genetic level, you would think, I would think at least, that you would not only get the cosmetic benefit, but you'd also be potentially reducing the risk of various skin cancers. Do you have any evidence of that?
Yeah, we talked a lot about that, and it's really complicated to develop a study that would support this claim. But we did do a small experiment with one of our partners, dermatologists, and basically his patients that had like more of the skin cell basal carcinoma and started using the products. Anecdotally, I needed to go back to the data, but they were less frequent after they start using the products. So it's interesting to see, because this ability of repairing damage more efficiently helps, again, maintaining your skin more resilient. So it's really, obviously, we'll never be able to make any claim, but it makes sense that based on how this peptide works, that your skin would be able to manage better the UV damage and potentially preventing cancer.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about sort of this. So OS-01 in general, is there something that makes it specific to the skin, or is this something that you could use, systemically?
Yeah, that's another great question. And we're actually interested in exploring this in the beginning, but obviously as a small company, we needed to focus and do one thing really well. The answer is that potentially we don't have the data for that yet because it was screened in fibroblast. Obviously fibroblast is a cell type that's present in other tissues as well. We know that it works well for the skin. It may not work necessarily well for cardiomyocytes, cells from your heart or neurons. Again, because it's targeting senescent cells, it could potentially have broader applications. So more to come in the future, but for now, we are primarily focusing on the skin.
What have you found, like, sort of in terms of the biggest hurdles that you run into in translating cellular rejuvenation therapies like these into clinical practice?
I think a lot of it is educating consumers about the science and the main mechanism that the peptide is working. We try as much as possible to have, very simple blogs and content on our website. We have a video that helps like explaining how this peptide works combating senescent cells. We tap into our community as well. But I think for the consumers that are already aware of the science, so a lot of our early consumers, they came from KOLs or experts that talked about OneSkin, and therefore these consumers already knew about cellular senescence. So for them, it was very easy to understand our approach. So for example, David Sinclair mentioned OneSkin and Tony Robbins. So and Dave Asprey. So some of these communities are already aware of cellular senescence, so targeting senescent cells made a lot of sense. So now for the lay consumer that's still not there or may not even be interested, we needed to show through other kinds of data, clinical studies, social proof that this product works. So it's about, meeting the consumer where they are and giving whatever reason they needed to at least try the product. The best part is that most people, will see results and will come back. And for those who are curious, there's always more information, more data, clinical studies, scientific papers that we can provide. Yeah, so we first started with the OS-01 face. That's a moisturizer for the face. It's kind of the basic one that everyone should start with. And again, it can pair with other products. You can pair with vitamin C, retinoic acid, whatever. It's a very gentle lotion that is good for men and women. And then we have a body lotion. And the goal behind the body lotion is that we want to treat your skin as a whole because your skin is your largest organ. And as the skin is aging and you're accumulating senescent cells throughout your skin, that inflammation that's coming from your skin in your whole body can also impact your internal levels of inflammation. So the goal of like treating your skin on your body is also trying to lower the inflammation that's coming from your skin as you age, and therefore preventing increased levels of inflammation in our blood, which can obviously induce the chronic diseases. So we actually ran a study to validate the connection of treating your skin, collecting blood, and seeing the impact by reducing the inflammation levels in the blood just by treating your skin topically. So this is one of the studies that we run as well.
Oh yeah, so what did you measure, like high sensitivity CRP, or like what did you use as a systemic marker?
Yeah, we measure a panel of inflammatory cytokines, primarily IL-6, interferon gamma, IL-8, TNF-alpha, and we saw a significant decrease in IL-8, and we saw a trend in decreasing all the other inflammatory markers. And we also had a control group that received another moisturizer that actually showed like an increase in inflammation. So this study was very interesting again, because the only intervention was treating your skin topically, and we saw an impact in the systemic levels of inflammation. And it's about to be published. We're in the final review steps.
And that actually makes sense. It makes a lot of sense because you're talking about skin is the biggest organ that we have. And so if you look at any other organ system, if we found a way to decrease the inflammation of that organ, you would surmise that it would decrease systemic inflammation as well. So that's a very, very interesting concept. So there is a potential systemic benefit of actually having, getting control of your skin inflammation. What is there? I mean, is there a different, I was just out of curiosity, like you also have like an eye thing. Do these, the OS-01 is the same? The rest of the ingredients are different based on the texture of skin and that kind of thing? Is that pretty much it?
OS-01 is the hero ingredient behind all of our products. And so for the body lotion, it is present in a lower concentration because your body is less exposed. And then on the eye products, actually in a higher concentration because the skin around our eyes ages faster. We know, biologically speaking, the skin just under or above your eyes is 20 to 30 years older than the skin around your cheeks or temples.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so it's 5 times thinner in terms of the epidermal thickness. It accumulates more of the senescent cells. Obviously, we're moving all the time, so this accumulates more damage, and therefore we needed a formula that was more potent yet very gentle because it's a very delicate skin. So there are other actives that also help boost collagen production. And this, from the clinical studies that we have, the impact in wrinkles reduction is the highest with the eye product, and same for hydration and elasticity. The eye, it's the most potent product that we have, and there is a reason behind it to basically, combat the accelerated aging around the eyes.
Very interesting stuff. Right now, if people are interested in this product, as I mentioned, I have been actually just ordering off your website. I just have a subscription off your website.
Yeah, mostly online. We're still, a fairly young company. We eventually want to expand to retail, but right now for us it's important really to learn a lot with our customers and get the feedback directly from them, iterate and build that loyal community. So for now, mostly D2C through our website, oneskin.co. Yeah, suggest people to subscribe to our newsletters, and we always share about the new products. We invite people to join the initial testing of new products. We share about the science, we share about the data, we share about longevity.
Fascinating stuff. So again, the site is oneskin.co, and Dr. Carolina Reis Olivera, thank you so much for being on Longevity Roadmap today.
Yeah, thanks, Buck. This was a great conversation.